Hey everyone, welcome back to week five.
Five.
Week five
Give it 5.
of the Lucas and Lee podcast.
Yes.
And once again, Lucas, thank you for coming back. Very excited. And
love it.
Lucas, I will give you kudos because you got most of the topics for today's podcast.
Golf clap. Yeah, tons of great topics here. It's going to be an amazing show today. It's a great episode. I'm so excited. And we have to kick it off because I know you are a lover. You're a very forgiving person, too. I mean, you are a very forgiving person. So it's going to be interesting to see what your take is on this because I guarantee it's a little different than my take. But it is this question: how many chances do you give a significant other before you cut ties?
Okay. So, it all depends what the chance is about. If it's cheating, if it involves someone having cheated, then there are no chances.
It's over and done with.
It's
one.
over.
You get one.
It's over. You get...
Yeah. We'll get 0 because
You
if
get
we do
0.
cheat, it's over.
If you cheat, see you later. There's the door. Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord splits you.
I got to ask you a question, though, because about the cheating.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody cheated on you and you didn't find out, but they came clean, like they said, they came to you and they said, you know, I got to tell you, last night I made a mistake, I cheated, you know, is there any way you can forgive me or overlook it? Because at least at that point, they're making an attempt, they're apologizing. And they took ownership.
What they're basically saying is, I took the cookies from the cookie jar, and I don't want to get punished for it. No!
You're still fired. You're still gone.
You're still fired.
Gone.
See ya. Thank you for telling me. Thank you for letting me find out sooner rather than later. There's the door. Don't let it hit you. Sorry. Peace out, home skillet. No, I mean, that's when you are in a relationship and you get physically betrayed like that, that's not okay.
I don't give second chances anymore at all. 0 second chances. It doesn't matter how minor the crime is, and I know, I mean, but it is my life, right? I mean, so
it's your life. This
is my take, and I know some people might think that I'm a little crazy, but I remember one time this lady that I was dating came over to the house, and we're hanging out, and we're having a good time, and then she goes, "Can we talk? Can we talk?" And you always know when somebody says, "Can we talk?" It's never going to be good. And she had said that she thought that I wasn't taking the relationship serious and I wasn't as dialed in as she was. And I was, well, that's fine, and that's your opinion, and there's the door. You can leave. Why would you want to be and hang out with somebody that's not putting in effort? Because I'm going what I think is max effort. And maybe my max effort isn't what your max effort is. Maybe you think it's less, and that's fine. But I learned being 52 years old and knowing that there is, once you reach 50, and I know you have this outlook at a younger age, but once I reached 50, I realized I got a lot more years behind me than ahead of me. You know, even if I lived to 82, like if I lived to 82, that's 30 more years, and I'm 52. So that's not many. It's only, think about that, it's only 30 more Christmases. It's only 30 more Thanksgivings. I don't have time to deal with somebody that is going to be complaining about things that I don't want to hear.
Well, I mean, look, in your case, what she should have done was probably come to you and say, hey, the effort you're putting in this relationship, is that the max effort you're putting in? And you would have said yes.
Yeah.
And she'd have been like, that's not enough for me. It's been fun. It's been real. It's been real fun. But I'm out.
Yeah, and that's the way it should have been handled.
That's the way it should have been handled. I mean, look, you know, for me, especially when it comes to the behavior-based, I mean, look, I will always use my former marriage as an example because so much happened in that thing.
In such a short time. I mean, how many years were you married?
2.
2 years? The way you tell the stories, you would think it was 20 years. I mean, you lived more in those 2 years. You literally faced death in those 2 years.
I was talking about this with my therapist yesterday. I have gone through more in 2 years than most people go through in a lifetime.
So, when you got married, you were 100% healthy.
Yes. I was 100%
So
healthy.
all of this happened. You got married, got sick, were on death's door, literally knocking on it. I mean, maybe even like the door was kind of open.
Oh no, the door was definitely
The
open.
door was kind of open.
The door was definitely open. I like to joke that the door was open and the Grim Reaper saw me. Everyone knows that I'm in politics for a living.
Yeah.
The Grim Reaper saw me and the Grim Reaper's like, oh my God, I don't want to get beat for re-election. And close the door right back.
Bam!
Close the door right back. But
So you were like freaking Tom Brady and Joe Montana. I mean, you beat freaking the Grim Reaper. You beat death.
I beat the
You
Grim
beat the death. You were
for
like,
the time being, because he always wins at the end. But
well, you never know. You might live forever. You don't know.
just call me Noah.
You've already beaten him once.
But there have been times in our relationship where, I sat there and thought, is it worth it? In fact, when we were dating, we broke up for like 36 hours. And I remember she said we broke up because it was interfering. She was an executive of Facebook. And it was interfering too much with her work because she got an evaluation back that was not significantly she said her evaluations usually were exceed standards and this one was meet standards, and she freaked out.
Well, it might not have had anything to do with you.
And she says it was because she was spending more time in the relationship than focusing on work 24/7. And so she broke up with me for 36 hours. I remember I was sad panda. And then I just get this text message, I'm sorry, I was wrong, blah, 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 will you please come back? And much like a puppy who's being called home, whoop,
Yeah. See, that's definitely the difference. If somebody does that to me, it's like, I'm not back. I'm like, running the other way.
I got in my car and, whoa, Morgan Hill, here I come. But, in instances like that and in instances where it's behavior-based, then I think a lot of it depends on, okay, did the person who has aggrieved you or did something wrong, do they recognize what they did? And if they recognize what they did, what are they going to do to correct it? And it's a two-way street. It is a two-way street because them recognizing and what they're going to do to correct it, you need to be okay with that also. Now, like I said, if it is cheating or it is drug-based, honestly, this actually happened to me when I was my third year of law school. I was dating a kindergarten teacher. And she loved smoking pot. And
I did,
And she had a small, and her smoking pot in and of itself wasn't a disqualifier. It's pot. I've never smoked the stuff, but still, big whoop-de-doo. It's legal in California, for crying out loud. But she would smoke. She had a young child, and she said she would smoke it around her kid.
Yeah, I don't think that's cool.
And I was
I don't
like,
think that's cool. No.
And I just told her right on the spot, it's not okay.
That's not. I don't think that's.
And she was like, well, I'm going to do it because it's my kid and I want to. And I was like, see you later. Peace out. Peace. So, like I said, it all depends. Second chances when it is really behavior based in a relationship, I think they should be given depending on the circumstances, depending on how much the parties are willing to put into working to fix whatever the behavior is. If it is cheating, if it's drugs,
or if they're a Kansas City Chiefs fan. Gone. So,
or a Raider fan.
Yeah,
Raider fan.
So, with that, we all started dating at a younger age. Some in grammar school. I was shocked. Some people tell me they started dating in the 4th grade, which blows me away. I don't know how that happens. What do you think is the appropriate age to date for a kid? Like to start.
Like if I had a child.
Yeah, if you had a child, what's the appropriate age for a child to start dating?
33.
Oh.
I mean, look, one of my many faults is oftentimes it's what would Lee do when I'm thinking about things. And I really didn't start dating until my freshman year of college.
Who was that lucky lady at Pacific?
Yeah. We'll leave it there. But, like my brother dated all through high school. Like that guy had like a new girlfriend every other week. I, on the other hand, kind of had it stuck in my head that if I literally touched a girl in high school, she would probably get pregnant. And that would lead me to being stuck in Hillmar, California for the rest of my life. And
Well, I did hear there's something in the water in Hillmar that makes people more fertile than anywhere else in the country. Because there's babies being born a lot in Hillmar.
so a continued life in Hillmar was not exactly my idea of a good time. So I made a conscious decision not to really date in high school. Like, I had prom dates, and junior, senior prom, let's go to the prom, get dressed up. But as far as actually dating, I did not. That being said, I think high school, look, in junior high, you have like your, girlfriend at school.
The pretend girlfriend that you
Yes.
see at school and you don't go on dates
The
with
pretend girlfriend you see at school and hold hands during lunch. And trade stickers and shit like that.
Yeah.
But actually dating. No, I'd say high school.
I think if you have money, because that was a rule I said with my boys. If you have a job and you have money, then you can go on a date. If you don't have a job and you ain't got no money, keep your broke ass home. That's the rule.
And I think, well, first off, like whenever I take someone out on a date or whatnot, in the past, I have. And currently, of course. I ask, I pay.
You have to. Yeah, you have to.
That's how I've always rolled. Always.
I think date one has to be
Yes.
paid by the guy. That's the rule. Date one, the man pays.
It befuddles me when there are guys who are like, "Oh, I forgot my wallet at home," or "Oh, I don't. Can we split?" I mean, if you're the dude and you ask the woman out, you need to pay. Step up and pay.
It's a red flag, ladies, if he's not paying on the first date. It's a red flag.
Massive red
Absolutely.
flag. You just need to turn and run as far as you can the other way.
And speaking of dating, when you date, it leads to relationships, and sometimes those relationships can blend families together. And there's a big question all over X right now about blended families and can blended families work. I got a story for you about this guy.
Here's the story of a man named Brady who was bringing up 3 boys of his own.
Yeah, I don't see too many blended families that are like the Brady Bunch, do you?
No, I see
They were
zero.
perfect, yeah.
Zero.
I see a lot
blended
of drama.
families like the Brady
a lot
Bunch.
of drama. And I heard from this guy, he's an adult now, but he had said that when he was a kid, the dad was raising him. And they had a great relationship. They went to basketball games. They played catch together. And he had a great relationship with his father. Then all of a sudden, a woman came along and started taking time away from him, with his father. And he started to get a little weirded out by it. And then all of a sudden, that woman moved into his house. And he used this comment, all of a sudden, there's a stranger living in my home. And it made me uncomfortable. And he was very resentful for that. To this day, he still talks about it. When he goes over to the house, he's like, she's always there, and I don't get any alone time with my dad.
So a couple things. A, that's a kind of selfish take. That really is. It's like the dad shouldn't be happy. The dad shouldn't have companionship. It should be all about me, 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 me. Second, if he's now an adult and he's going over and is complaining about not getting any alone time with his dad, he needs to be an adult and bring up, "Hey, Dad, I would really like some alone time with you. Let's go to a game. Let's go fishing. Let's go do this. Let's go do that." But make it very clear, because I'm pretty sure the dad's new wife, I assume she's a wife, would not mind a father and his son having alone time.
I agree, but I have another story for you about a blended family. This comes from the father's standpoint. So this father, he had a son, and the son was living in another state, and he came to visit, and he was big into trains. So the dad set up this trip where they were going to fly to Seattle and then take a train back down to LA. And it was just going to be...
Hold on. Was there a car involved at any point in this trip?
No cars at all.
There was no cars.
Planes and trains.
Come on, they had to drive to the station.
I guess
correct?
they did. They had some planes, trains.
Planes, trains, baby!
Here we go with that. Yes. So anyway, so they took the, just him and his son, went to Seattle, then took a train down, and then the wife got angry because she was not included in this and got very upset about it. And it goes to the standpoint that when you are in a blended family, that person that you bring in expects to be number one and over the children.
Because look, I was in those shoes. Remember, I moved into my ex-wife's house. I became her son's stepdad. And look, one thing she made very clear to me when we first started dating and when we even talked about getting married is that her son was always going to be number one.
And I think that works for women, but doesn't work with men.
And I was 100% okay with that.
Like I said, I think that works with men. Like, men are cool with the kid coming first, but I think when women come in, for the most part, they aren't that cool with playing number two to the children.
I think if two people really truly care about each other, I think first it's a conversation they have before this happens, and so that's the problem. I think a lot of times in situations like you're talking about, there is no conversation they have. How is this going to work? Who and what are my priorities? Is it going to be the new wife or new husband who's the priority, or is it going to be the kids? There are no boundaries that are set. And when you go into a situation like that, where boundaries are not set, then someone's going to get hurt. Someone's going to get butt hurt. Someone's going to feel left out. And you're going to have situations like you're talking about.
And I do think that that's the norm, though. I don't think there are too many blended families that are functioning properly. I think a lot of them, actually, let's be real, there's very few families that are functioning normal. And then when you put the blended part into it, it gets even crazier. But I'd love to hear comments about that, because what I have noticed is that men, like yourself, a lot of times do go into that relationship and they're cool with the situation, just like you. This goes with my hypothesis that, like, you were cool with the child coming first. I don't think that women are usually cool coming second in that relationship.
I gotta disagree with you. I don't think it's a gender thing. I think it's a person thing. And
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Look, and it could go both ways. You could have guys who are super duper possessive, and I've seen it where guys are super possessive and the kid like feels all shunned, or women that are super possessive and the child feels shunned. I think it's a personality thing. I think it is people who come into relationships maybe looking for something they're missing or lacking, or missed or lacked in their last relationship, in their childhood, you name it. Basically, people who need to go see my therapist.
Yeah,
and they come into it thinking that the person they're coming into the relationship with is replacing something, and therefore they need all their attention, they need all their focus, they need to be number one in their lives, not realizing there's already another person who they are responsible for and have to look after, and that person should, in all reality, come number one.
Well, and the biggest issue, though, is the amount of attention kids get. There's always, in a blended family, there's always kids that are shunned. And like, if you have multiple kids on both sides, like, you didn't have that.
No, we just had one.
Yeah, when you have, there's always one side that's getting shunned and one side that feels neglected.
And that, honestly, I gotta say that happens in almost every family, blended or not family. Look, I am a middle child. I am a 100% middle child.
Did you feel neglected?
Well, I don't want to say neglected. I think my parents just kind of put me on autopilot and knew I wasn't going to screw up. And so they're just kind of like, yeah, Lee will be fine. Honestly, I think their outlook on things was, for the most part, growing up, Lee will be fine. Like,
it sucks being the responsible one.
I was the responsible one. I was the responsible one. You had my older brother, who's, my older brother. Love him, but my older brother. Me, the responsible one, and then my sister was the baby. So literally growing up, my parents' philosophy on me was, Lee will be fine. Look, I was like a junior or senior in high school, and it could be like midnight, and my parents would literally be like, Lee, and I'm not home. Lee's one of two places. He's playing Nintendo at the Wall Towers house, or he's shooting hoops at the gym. And 10 times out of 10, they were 100% right.
Yeah, I'll say you're cool, because it's the same thing with my youngest, Sean. I always know I never worry about Sean. Like, if he's at Chick-fil-A working until 1 in the morning. I know he's at Chick-fil-A working till 1 in the morning. I know he didn't lie.
Yeah.
So yeah, when you're on the responsible one, you don't get the attention like the ones that are a little wild.
No, so I was responsible one, and obviously attention-wise, I'm making up for it in my adulthood.
You definitely are. Speaking of attention, somebody who loves attention more than you is John.
That's, first of all, the fact that someone loves attention more than me is a little shocking, but let's go.
Well, and you when I say the name, you're going to be like, absolutely, that guy does. And I'm talking about John Gruden.
Oh, John Gruden.
Yes, Chucky. So John Gruden going to Stool Sports. Dave Portnoy has made another brilliant move by bringing in John Gruden. What are your thoughts on that?
You know, if there are two people who ever belong in a banana boat together, it would be Dave Portnoy and John Gruden. Now, look, you know, obviously for those of you who know the backstory of John Gruden and why he's no longer on Monday Night Football, he sent out some emails that said some very bad things.
Yes, and I mean, he was a head coach too with the Raiders a couple times in Tampa. Won a Super Bowl with Tampa.
He won a Super Bowl with Tampa. He was a head coach with the Raiders. At the same time, John Gruden did get shafted because Daniel Snyder, who, by the way, look, I know we make fun of Jerry Jones on this show all the time because you can make fun of Jerry Jones. It's okay. Excuse me. Winter season. Yeah. The all-time worst owner in team sports, Daniel Snyder by far.
So Daniel Snyder worse than John Fisher with the A's? I mean, is that...
John Fisher's just a schmuck. John Fisher is just a cheap schmuck. Daniel Snyder is a sexual harasser.
He is, yeah.
He's an evil person. He is the dude who was like shoved in the locker in junior high and had the locker shut and had everyone kick the locker as they passed by. And he ended up making a lot of money, and now he's taking his revenge.
How did he get his money? Do you even know how he got his money? Like, what did he
cable television.
Oh, okay.
Yay. And .com. And
he was forced out of football, right? Like
he was forced.
He
yes, Roger Goodell basically said, you're selling the team or else.
Yeah. Well, I think that John Gruden on Barstool Sports is brilliant. I like him as a broadcaster much more than I like him as a coach because he did not win that Super Bowl. The Raiders lost that Super Bowl, and Tony Dungy's team. Tony
Dungy's team did win this. And, you know, John Gruden on Barstool Sports kind of goes back to what we first talked about and second chances. And he's done his penance.
He did.
He came out and basically said, yeah, I shouldn't have said that stuff. And it was wrong. He has been in the wilderness, and now they're inviting him back in from the wilderness. I mean, the guy's a brilliant football mind.
Oh, yeah, and he's a great broadcaster. He's very good at broadcasting.
And I think he'll bring a lot to Barstool Sports. I think it'll be super duper entertaining. Yeah, kind of looking forward to seeing what he has to say on there.
Yeah, and back in 2021, he would have been a candidate for the worst week ever because he did have one of the worst weeks ever back in 2021. But this week, who's the worst week ever?
Oh my God! So you know, at the beginning of the weekend, Hannah Cavender of the infamous Cavender twins was definitely by far and away
the winner,
running away with the worst week ever, simply for the fact that the entire state of Georgia is blaming her for Carson Beck being a mid-quarterback this year for the Georgia Bulldogs. Georgia has 2 losses on the season now, and I guarantee you, guarantee you, that every individual in the state of Georgia is blaming Hannah Cavender for having Carson Beck worry more about his Instagram famous influencer girlfriend than playing quarterback for the Georgia Bulldogs. Mm. But then this weekend happened to the entire state of Florida when it comes to their football teams. So this weekend, there were 12 both pro and Division I football teams that had games that are from the state of Florida. What was their record this weekend?
I think the Dolphins won, right?
1-11.
And it was the Dolphins that got the one win?
The Dolphins.
They're pathetic. They were the one team that won?
The Dolphins are the one team that saved face for the entire state of Florida. Believe it or
not.
The
pathetic Dolphins?
The pathetic Dolphins had to save Florida from an offer. I mean, so, you know, my beloved Gators lost. They were at Texas. That was going to happen. Yes. Mm. It's an even rougher year for Free Shoe University, the Florida State Seminoles, who got boat raced 52-3 by Notre Dame. Let's see, UCF lost, USF lost, FIU lost, Florida A&M lost,
Wow.
Jacksonville Jaguars lost, Tampa Bay Buccaneers lost. I'm sure I'm missing somebody.
Yeah. Well,
I'm sure I am.
Well, one thing is, you did mention Notre Dame, and I know you like Notre Dame. Do you think Notre Dame has a chance?
For old Notre Dame.
Chance? Do they have a chance at the national?
Bring down their name. Yes.
National championship?
Yes.
Is this the year?
Because you know why? Jesus Christ is a Notre Dame fan. 100%. God is a Notre Dame fan. I'm sorry, everyone. I am sorry, but God is a Notre Dame fan. I mean, they got touchdown Jesus for crying out loud.
But they've had this for a long time. They haven't been able to win. Are they winning this year? I mean, they have not lost since they lost a game to Northern Illinois.
Yeah, that was a stinker. That was a little bit of a stinker.
But they've been nonstop winning. It woke them up.
So look, I was raised Catholic, and since my alma mater no longer has a football team, because when your football team is losing to Nebraska 49-7 and you're covering the point spread, it's time to rethink whether you should have Division I football, and that's what UOP did in 1995. So I had to adopt a football team, and so I, of course, adopted the most Catholic football team.
Notre Dame?
Of all time. Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Look, I do. I think everyone else has kind of leveled off a little bit. There's no team that really stands out. Oregon has gotten lucky, especially against Ohio State. They got super duper lucky that Ohio State's quarterback had a brain freeze. They had one blemish, and they beat a really good Navy team, and it wasn't close. They boat raced Florida State. They're going to breeze through the rest of their schedule. And I think it's time for the first national championship since 1988.
Woo!
1980. You guys can't see it, but to my left are framed autographed jerseys of Tim Brown and Tony Rice.
I'm looking at him right now.
1988 national champion for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and it's time. It is time to end the drought. Notre Dame, come on, win a national championship this year.
That would be nice. I do have to give an honorable mention for the worst week ever, and that has to go to Jake Moody, because he had a horrible game for the San Francisco 49ers.
But he kicked the game winner, though.
He did kick the game winner, but he caused an argument between Peppers and Deebo Samuel.
I don't mind that. That shows a little fire.
Well,
that shows that people are pissed off and people want accountability and they're mad. And they're holding their other teammates. I don't mind that.
But who's holding Deebo Samuel accountable? He only had 20 yards receiving at that point.
I think his next contract will hold Deebo Samuel accountable.
Somebody does. They need to step up. 49ers need to step up this weekend. Seattle at home at Levi Stadium. That is a must-win. In fact, the 49ers have to win out. The Cardinals should not be allowed to win that division.
No.
They can't win.
No.
They're in first place right now. They have sole possession of first place.
No, not the Cardinals.
They can't do it.
Cardinals suck.
Yeah, the 49ers have to win the NFC West. And with them winning the NFC West this year, there is a clear-cut point that they're going to go to the Super Bowl. I know everybody is riding high on those Lions, but how many interceptions did Jared Goff throw?
I think he had more interceptions than I've had girlfriends in the last 10 years.
Okay.
In his last game. In his last game.
Yeah. So let me tell you this. If you throw interceptions versus the 49ers, you lose. The Lions will not beat the 49ers in a playoff game.
Also, Dan Campbell will choke at the very end.
Well, he does stupid things. Like, he'll go for it on 4th and 45.
He does dumb things.
Yeah.
With that, I think we've come to the conclusion of our time for week number 5.
Yes, make sure you subscribe. Subscribe and like this video. And say you want more Lucas and Luke podcast.
Download our podcast and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, where we're now over 150 followers on the TikTok.
Yes, I love that.
We're on X. Just look up Lucas and Lee Podcast and you'll find us.
Yes, and we'll be live tomorrow on Instagram doing our picks for football.
And I will probably be in a suit doing our picks because tomorrow is my niece and godchild Mackenzie Taylor's wedding.
Oh, wow.
She is getting married to Jake from State Farm, and we are all very excited to have Jake in the family. Jake, hurt you.
And there's the podcast.
Thanks, everyone. See you next week.